there it is, whoop, there it is. Oops, sorry, wrong video. Yes, this is talking about the Whoop, you know, the 24/7 fitness tracker that's going to revolutionize everything. In terms of their own words, unlock your potential with Whoop. Where in this video I'm going to talk about, have they come to a crossroads in their business model, in their strategy? Is this the beginning of the end? For two main reasons. One is they peed off their regular customer base, and two, competition is a coming. So without further ado, let's get into this video. But before I get into the nitty gritty of what I've found and what I want to share with you all, and I have a big question for those of you watching who are Whoop users, whether they're current Whoop users, past, previous, or thinking about getting them. Let me know in the comments below what your experience is with it. You know, good, bad, indifference, what you think, because I'm not a Whoop user, yeah? Whilst I was tempted many years ago, because I do love my tech, whilst I'm on a current tech detox for the new year, which is all part of a social experiment for myself, but I am an avid tech user. It might sound contradictory, but I was thinking of doing the Whoop. You know, you probably would have seen the adverts years ago, and I do love things that can help us, yeah? I wear my sports watch on the runs and look at all the stats, so I know there are benefits of the tech, and I worked in the tech industry for many decades, so I know what can help, not help. But the thing is, when I went to look at purchasing it, one was the price. Yeah, I thought, wow, that's a lot of money. But I thought, you know what, it does a lot of stuff. I was ready to buy, and then I saw you have to pay a monthly subscription. That's it, it lost me. As soon as it said you got to pay a monthly subscription and pay for the tech, I was gone, lost, no customer, didn't have a need for it, you know. In fact, even before I was running, I was wearing a Fitbit, yeah? And the reason why I wore a Fitbit Surge, just literally to count my steps. That's all I wanted to do. I needed to get into a habit. I was obese, yes, that's right. I used to be quite a big guy, and I just wanted to get into the habit, this is back in 2011 now, of walking 10,000 steps a day. So I wanted something to monitor that. Once I got into the discipline of doing that, I had no need for a step tracker, because I was doing more than enough just from my daily habits of over 10,000 steps. Makes sense? So I'd love to hear from you, those who are Whoop users. Leave it in the comments below how you've been getting on, and I'm going to talk about what's been happening over the past, I don't know, number of months in terms of regular customers, what's happened, and also competition coming. So for us runners, athletes, despite it being our hobby, we all want to optimize our training, optimize what we can do, and a 24/7 wearable tech makes absolute perfect sense. Absolute perfect sense, you know. And for a Whoop and other devices, it does monitor our heart rate, SpO2, sleep tracking, loads and loads of stuff that's in there. Absolutely brilliant. But for me, I thought, why would someone want to purchase an item and pay a monthly subscription when it's available for free on current wearables like your Garmin watch or your Apple Watch? It's there, yes. I appreciate that maybe the battery lives aren't as good as the Whoop. I think the Whoop lasts for however many weeks. Was it a week, 10 days? And certainly an Apple Watch you have to charge every day. And as for a Garmin, depending on what your model is, you might have to charge every week or every month, whatever it is. I know I've got my Garmin Enduro, which I wear just for the runs. That lasts me a good month in terms of the charge, but I don't wear it 24/7. So why would people go for that? That's the first thing. So they've built up a base, and I'll talk to you about how they've built up their regular customer base, because they're on version 5 right now, Whoop 5. Yeah, Whoop 5. How did they grow? Well, they grew pretty rapidly with a lot of sponsorships, a lot of influencers. I did see an awful lot of health influencers on YouTube over the years who were all promoting the Whoop band, but they were also going mainstream. If you're into your cricket, and I said to you, Kohli, he's probably the biggest superstar in cricket in the world, and he's one of the sponsored athletes. Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, no other, he wears a Whoop as well, and no doubt he's paid a handsome sum to do that as well. But that's how marketing works, yeah? Get these top sports people to wear it, the best in their field. There's no denying Kohli and Ronaldo, the best in their field. We can have a debate about Ronaldo and Kohli, but you know, those who know their cricket and their football, I mean, Ronaldo, for heaven's sake, is in his 40s and still going, so he knows his stuff. Top athlete. And Kohli, absolutely brilliant cricketer for India. So it's an amazing target market. They've grown, but with that growth it comes issues with businesses, all types of businesses. But they made a fundamental error, and this is what I picked up from one of the YouTubers who has been using Whoop. Fundamental error with their loyal customer base. What was that error? They peed them off big time. So how did they pee them off? Well, according to this one YouTuber I've seen, they had terms and conditions where you've paid for the tech and you're basically paying a monthly fee, so however many hundreds of pounds for the tech, and they said if they ever bring out new tech more advanced, they would replace it for free. Well, when they brought out Whoop 5, that wasn't the case. You had to pay for it again. Lots of unhappy people there, lots of unhappy people. So whilst some people, and I think their target market, they'll say, oh, what's a couple $100 anyway for something that helps your life? But if they're bringing out new tech every year, every 2 years, that's quite an outlay. So that was number one. They peed off their regular customer base. What was number two? Number two, I think this could be even bigger and could derail them, or certainly put them on a crossroads and they need to change direction. Competition is a coming big time. Now, there is another device, again, I've not used this, the Oura Ring, yeah, which monitors you 24/7. So instead of being a wrist wearable tracking thing, you put it on your finger like a ring, yeah. But there are two wearables that have come out. One literally in the past month or so, 6 weeks, but one that's been around for a number of months, which is the Amazfit Helio, and the one that's all recently come out is the Polar Loop. So these are two big players that have come in, and they're making a sizable dent, I believe, for one reason and one reason only. What's that one reason? Well, it's the bottom line. Money, that's right. The Amazfit Helio here in the UK, I think it's £90, £100, yeah, one off, and that's it. No ongoing monthly fee. Pretty amazing. But Amazfit, I hadn't really heard of them. There's all sorts of YouTubes saying, is this the Whoop killer device? Well, you know, maybe it's a bit clickbaity, but who knows? You know, I don't know enough about Amazfit. Do you use the Amazfit Helio? Let me know in the comments below. But the one where we're suddenly getting raised eyebrows is Polar. Have brought out their device called the Polar Loop, which looks almost exactly the same as a Whoop. In fact, if you call it the Loop, Whoop, can you see the play on words? Yeah, now an organisation like Polar, they do know their stuff, and they got great smart watches, devices, trackers. So they've come in, and that's about £150. I don't know what it is in US dollars. £150. Again, one-off payment. You're done and dusted. Yeah. However, there are some caveats with these two new items. From what I've seen from these two new devices, the Amazfit's been around a bit longer than the Polar Loop. They're having a similar teething up issues that Whoop had when it first came out with their version 1 of Whoop, is that some of the tracking, the fitness tracking, is not very accurate, to say the least. Although, having said that, you know, the other features are pretty good, pretty similar. But from what I've heard, Whoop still has some issues of monitoring heart rate, would you believe? But again, I've only got this second hand from watching other YouTube videos where, depending on the exercise you're doing, the heart rate does go a bit crazy. But I've found that with my Garmin wrist heart rate, when you're doing an exercise, especially when you're moving your arms, is not the best. So I think a pinch of salt needs to be taken with that, but when you're stationary, not moving or doing other forms of exercise, it tends to be pretty accurate. So Amazfit Helio and the Polar Loop have got some teething issues. I've certainly seen it on the DC Rainmaker and a few other YouTubers saying that it's not good at tracking exercises, whereas the Whoop seems to be pretty seamless. It knows what, automatically works out what you're doing, and away it goes. Yeah, that's my views so far on those two. So what can we conclude? What can we conclude? Well, as I said at the very beginning, if you are a Whoop user, or if you've started using the Amazfit Helio, the Polar Loop, let me know in the comments below what you think. The only conclusion we can really come up with is time will tell. Like with all businesses, if they've gone on a hard push with celebrities, sports people, influencers, and grown to a certain level and pushed it, that's great, but how is it sustainable? Will the product still continue to work, and how will it deal with competition? Because I've only mentioned two, and I'm sure there's other organisations that will start bringing out their tech or improving it. At the end of the day, things like Garmin, Apple Watch, they've already got their users. They could start working on the software that helps with the 24/7 tracking without the need of buying any of the other wearables like a Helio or a Loop. Yeah, and Whoop then becomes just another tracker that sort of tried but didn't succeed long term. I think it's done some great stuff and there's some wonderful software out there, but who knows? Yeah, there was a time when Fitbit was number one and everybody was using that, but things move on, tech moves on, changes. Are they going to be able to... Woo! Hey Kieran, oh, I didn't know I'd get video bombed there by Kieran. Anyway, yes, you see, familiar walking route. Changed my line of thought. Yes, we wasn't expecting that. Should I edit that out? No, we'll keep it in because this is all real. I don't, as you can see, I don't have any scripts or anything. I had some bullet points in my brain I needed to work through. I'd love to hear from you. Let's get the dialogue going, questions, because I do believe that Whoop and devices like that do have a great benefit and help for some people, but for others, maybe we can just rely on our goodwill. Did I say goodwill? Rely on how we feel, yeah, because it's all about how do you feel. Do you feel good with or without them? Let me know in the comments below. Take care. Well, as I walk along here on the Riverside Park, I do like my addendums, and I know a lot of you stay to the very end to listen to the addendums because it's good often having food for thought and questioning things and see how, you know, I mentioned about trusting on how we feel, and for me it's been quite liberating in a way, not wearing tech 24/7. I still put my Garmin on for the runs. I've got it on now. I'm doing a walk, so I record my walks and all that kind of stuff, but it's not on 24/7. I don't feel a need for it to track my sleep and tell me if I've had a good night's sleep, because when I wake up I listen to how I feel. I've got a morning routine to get the body moving, and it works for me, similar to what happened when I used to have a Fitbit. Got it back in 2011 to monitor my steps. Once I got into the habit and I knew I had a habit of over 10,000 steps, that was just something I was aiming for. I didn't feel the need of having it anymore. Yeah, great, you get all sorts of recognition and kudos if you use the old Strava. Oh wow, you've done this, or I remember Fitbit used to have badges based on how many steps you'd done, and they'd say, oh, you've been to the moon and back, or to Mars and back, and all that type of stuff, which is a long way. Yeah, that's over a number of years. It's great having those achievements and thinking, oh, I'm really doing something. But for me, I've got to the stage in life now, and also in terms of how I feel, I don't feel I need the affirmation or kudos to say, well done, you've done 10,000 steps or 100,000 steps or whatever. It's great, I can see the benefits for others, but for me it's a case of just going with how I feel. But being a bit of a tech geek, I might splash out on one of those other devices, the Polar Loop or the Amazfit Helio. I'm not sure which one yet, but my gut instinct from what I've seen from DC Rainmaker talking about the Polar Loop and the technical issues that are happening with that at the moment, I think it's too new to try, if that makes sense. I never first in. I used to be first in with tech many decades ago, but I found that when you're first in, you're doing all the troubleshooting for the organisations. They've not worked through it themselves. So having worked in tech, I know that the testing and rigorous things that need to go on before you release software. So back in the 90s when we released stuff, I thought something in my hand, it was just a leaf. When we released stuff, we rigorously tested the things because it would go live within financial systems. There was no room for error, yeah, because we're dealing with customers. Now it seems to be with a lot of these apps and tech, it's okay to release when it's only, say, 80% ready. As I say, that could be a whole debate, a whole thing that we can talk about in terms of tech and apps and all that kind of things. But as I say, back in my day when we released stuff, and also within engineering, you know, you can't have a bridge collapsing, yeah? So we'd often over-engineer the tech to ensure that it stayed up, because you're dealing with people's lives. This one isn't a life changer, life breaker, although you could say if people are monitoring their 24/7 and totally dependent on it, if the resting heart rate or the HRV isn't recording correctly, that could put a lot of stress and anxiety on to people, yeah? So again, some importance there, but just some food for thought. I don't know what your views are. Let me know in the comments below, and I'm off to continue my leisurely walk, and see you on the next video. Whoa! There he goes.